The night I refused my boss's sofa was the night my life split into before and after. Before that night, I was just a tired single dad who wrote code, packed lunches, and went to bed alone. After that night, nothing about my job, my heart, or my plans was simple again. If you are listening, stay with me till the end. I want you to know exactly how one small choice turned into the biggest risk I ever took. It started with rain. Not soft, pretty rain. The kind that hits the windows like a fist and makes the whole city look like it is underwater. I was on the 12th floor of a glass building in downtown Seattle, staring at lines of code that would not behave. The clock on my monitor said 6:18 p.m. The office was almost empty. Most people had run out the door an hour ago when the storm warning popped up. I should have left too, but my daughter, Lily, was at my mom's house for the night. She was safe, probably playing with my old board games and asking for one more cookie. I did not have to rush home for once, so I told myself I would stay late, fix the bug, impress my boss, and maybe stop feeling like I was always one step behind. My boss is Olivia Hart, Director of Engineering at Northbridge Technologies. Sharp mind, sharper heels, calm voice that could cut you in two without ever getting loud. Most days, I tried not to think about the fact that I noticed the way her hair fell when she took out her clip, or the way she rubbed her thumb along her coffee cup when she was deep in thought. She was my boss, not a woman I was allowed to think about like that. I pushed my chair back and rubbed my eyes. The code was finally passing all the tests. I was so tired my hands shook a little when I saved the file. When I stood and looked out over the city, the sky was almost black. Rain washed down the windows in thick sheets. The traffic below was a slow red and white river. I grabbed my hoodie from the back of my chair and headed for the elevators. That was when I saw her. Olivia was standing by the big windows near reception, phone in her hand, jaw tight. She was still in her blazer and pencil skirt, but her hair was slightly out of place, like she had run her hands through it one too many times. She looked like a person who always had an answer and had finally run into a problem she could not control. I stopped a few steps away. "Everything okay?" I asked. She looked over, like she had not noticed anyone else was still here. Then she gave this short, tired laugh. "That depends on how you feel about flooded streets and useless ride apps," she said. "What happened?" "My car is in the shop," she said. "I booked a ride 30 minutes ago. Every driver keeps canceling. They do not want to drive in this mess." I glanced outside again. The wind was pushing the rain sideways. I had never seen the streets this bad. A sane person would have booked a hotel nearby and called it a night. "I can drive you," I said before my brain could talk me out of it. Olivia went still. "You do not have to do that, Ethan." "I know," I said, "but I have my car in the garage, and I am going that way anyway. I will feel better if I know you are not standing out there waiting for some random driver." She studied me, like she was trying to see the catch. The thing underneath the offer, there was nothing under it. I did not have a plan. I just did not like the idea of her out there alone when I had an empty passenger seat. "Do you always do this?" she asked. "Do what?" "Show up at the perfect time with a solution." I gave a small shrug. "I'm a dad. Solving problems is my whole personality." Her mouth curved, just a little. "You are sure it is not out of your way?" "Text me your address," I said. "We are wasting time while your imaginary ride is canceling on you again." She stared at her phone for one more beat, then sighed and typed. A buzz hit my pocket. "Okay," she said. "Thank you, Ethan." We went down to the parking garage together. The storm roared through the concrete like it had a loudspeaker. My old black Subaru sat near the far wall, speckled with water even though it was under a roof. I opened the passenger door and swiped a juice box and a few crayons off the seat. "Sorry," I said. "Lily's interior design work." "You have a daughter," she said, sliding in. "Yeah," I said as I started the engine. "She is 7. She thinks she runs the place." "She is not wrong." Olivia smiled at that, a real smile this time, small but warm. "That must be a lot." "It is," I said, easing the car up the ramp and into the open. "But she is the good kind of a lot." The wipers worked as hard as they could, but the rain was like a wall. I had to lean forward a little to see the lines on the road. The traffic reports on the radio were a steady stream of crashes, downed trees, and closed exits. "Maybe this was a bad idea," I muttered. "Too late to turn back now," Olivia said, left at the next light. Her building was in Capitol Hill. The closer we got, the more the streets started to look like shallow rivers. At one point, a wave of water sloshed up over the hood, and my heart jumped. "You okay?" Olivia asked. "Fine," I said, just thinking very hard about our life choices right now. She laughed, but her fingers tightened on her bag. By the time we pulled up outside her place, the storm had gone from bad to insane. The trees outside leaned like they were about to snap. Water ran over the curb and around my tires. Lightning flashed white, and thunder hit a second later, loud enough that I felt it in my chest. Olivia stared at the front door of her building, then at the river between us and it. "I am not going to lie," she said. "I do not love the idea of you driving back through this alone." "I will be fine," I said. "I just have to take it slow." Another flash, another crack of thunder, closer this time. The car shook in the wind. "Ethan," she said quietly, "look at the street." I did. Water was getting deeper by the minute. The drainage was not keeping up. I had never seen it rise that fast. My chest tightened. She turned back to me. "Stay," she said. I blinked. "What?" "Just until it calms down," she said. "You can sleep on the sofa. I have spare blankets." "I do not want you out there in this. Not when I asked you for a ride." Every careful rule I had built for myself sat up like an alarm. Do not cross lines at work. Do not blur roles. Do not do anything that could risk the paycheck that feeds your kid. "Olivia, it is fine," I said. "Really, I have driven in worse." She raised an eyebrow. "That is a lie, and we both know it." I looked at the windshield. The world outside was just water and light and noise. She lowered her voice. "Please, Ethan, stay the night. I will feel better knowing you are safe." It should have been an easy answer. "Yes, I will crash on the sofa. We will laugh it off on Monday and pretend it was nothing." But my life has never been that simple. Her apartment was on the 6th floor, warm, quiet, tastefully decorated in soft gray and blue. She handed me a towel and pointed me toward the bathroom while she made tea. My clothes were damp, my hair a mess, my heart in some weird space between calm and panic. When I came back out, she had pulled the sofa away from the wall and was wrestling with a folded metal frame. "I swear this thing hates me," she said, kicking it lightly. "It came with the apartment." I stepped in to help. We grabbed opposite corners and pulled. The frame swung out, then sagged on one side with a loud clank. One of the legs bent inward. Olivia stared at it, hands on her hips. "You have got to be kidding me." I tried to straighten the leg. It wobbled like a loose tooth. "If I sleep on that, I am going to wake up on the floor with a broken neck," I said. She blew out a breath and pushed her hair back. "Okay, new plan. You can take the sofa as is and I will take my bed." I looked at the narrow sofa. I am 6'2". My feet would hang off the edge. The busted leg meant one side dipped toward the floor. I pictured my alarm at 3 in the morning, my back wrecked, trying to drive home stiff and half awake. Something in me snapped. Maybe it was the long day. Maybe it was the way she kept saying, "You can take the sofa," like I was some guest at a hotel, not a man who had just driven her through a storm that scared us both. "No," I said. Olivia frowned. "No, quote." "I am not taking the sofa," I said, my voice steady in a way that surprised me. Her eyes searched my face. "Then what are you going to do, Ethan?" The storm roared against the windows. The broken sofa sagged between us. My heart beat hard against my ribs as I stepped closer to her, knowing that whatever I said next would change everything. I did not have a plan. I just knew one thing. "I am not sleeping on that death trap," I said, "and I am not letting you give me your bed while you take the sofa. That is not happening." Her eyes narrowed a little, but there was a spark there too. "You are stubborn, you know that?" "I have a 7-year-old who argues about socks every morning," I said. "You have no idea." She looked down at the broken pullout, then back at me. "Floor?" she asked. "I can get extra blankets." I pictured my back in the morning and winced. You will feel horrible if I cannot walk out of here tomorrow, I said. She huffed out a breath. Okay, smart guy, what is your big idea? My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. This was the moment, the line. I swallowed. We share the bed, I said. Silence. The storm filled it. Wind, rain, thunder, my own thoughts crashing into each other. Olivia stared at me like I had just suggested we rob a bank. That is not funny, she said. I am not joking, I said quietly. Look, it is a big bed, right? You take your side. I take mine. We are both adults. You know I am not going to try anything. Her jaw clenched. You are my employee. I know, I said. And I am not asking you to be anything but human for one night. It is a storm, a broken sofa, and a bad set of choices. This is the least dumb one. She closed her eyes for a second. When she opened them again, some of the fight was gone. What was left was exhaustion and something softer. Do you trust me? I asked. I did not mean as a boss. I meant as a person, as a man, as a dad who had spent years proving he would rather suffer than cross a line that hurt someone. She held my gaze. Yes, she said. I do. Then let me prove you can trust me in this too, I said. Her shoulders dropped. She let out a long breath. Okay, she said at last. You get the right side. I sleep on the left. You stay on your side. No funny business. Trust me, I said. I am way too tired for funny business. Her mouth tugged into a small smile. Come on then, she said, before I change my mind. Her bedroom was simple. Soft gray walls, a queen bed with a dark blue comforter, a stack of books on the nightstand. No clutter, no mess. It felt like her. She tossed me a t-shirt from her closet. It is my brother's, she said. Left it here once. It should fit you more than my clothes will. I changed in the bathroom, trying not to look at my own reflection. My face looked older under the harsh light. Tired eyes, scruff, a faint line between my brows that had not been there at 20. I wondered what Olivia saw when she looked at me. My boss, or my friend, or just a guy who happened to show up at the right time. When I came back out, she was already in bed, under the covers, wearing a loose dark t-shirt and shorts. Her hair was down over her shoulders. The room felt smaller with both of us in it. I walked to the far side and slipped under the blanket, staying close to the edge like there was an invisible wall between us. My heart would not slow down. I lay on my back, staring at the ceiling. This is weird, right? She said into the dark. Extremely, I said. The storm hammered the windows. Somewhere down the street a car alarm went off, then died. The heater hummed. Do you ever feel like your life is not yours? She asked suddenly. I turned my head. I could just see her profile in the light from the street. What do you mean? Everyone expects something from you, she said. Your team, your boss, your family. You spend all your time trying not to disappoint anybody, and then one day you realize you do not even know what you want anymore. I thought of all the nights I had stayed late to look good at work, then woken up before dawn to pack Lily's lunch, then sat at my tiny kitchen table feeling like I was failing in both places. Yeah, I said softly, I know that feeling. What do you want, Ethan? She asked. For tonight or in general? Both. Quote, Tonight I want the storm to calm down, I said. And I want Lily to be happy at my mom's, and I want you to stop looking like the weight of the whole company is sitting on your chest. She let out a small breath that might have been a laugh. And in general? I stared at the ceiling again. Nobody asked me that much. Not really. I want to not be scared all the time, I said. Scared of losing my job or messing up with Lily or making one wrong move that ruins everything I have built for her. And for you? She asked. I hesitated. I do not know how to want things just for me anymore, I said. Feels selfish. Needing things does not make you selfish, she said. Her voice was softer now. It makes you human. What about you? I asked. What do you want? She was quiet for a long moment. I thought maybe she had fallen asleep. Then she spoke. I wanted to prove I deserved this job, she said. That I was not just some diversity hire or someone who smiled pretty in meetings. So I worked. I pushed. I doubled everything. and now I am here, and some days I still feel like if I breathe wrong, they will remember they were not supposed to give me a seat at the table." "That is not true," I said. "You do not know that." "Yeah," I said, "I do. I have watched you hold that team together with spit and coffee and willpower. They would be lost without you." She went quiet again. I heard her shift on the pillow. "You are kind, Ethan," she said. "I am not being kind," I said. "I am being honest." We lay there, sharing the same air, the same storm, the same strange space between boss and employee, between safe and risky. The distance on the mattress stayed, but something else between us moved. After a while, her breathing evened out. I thought she had fallen asleep, but then her voice came again, low and tired. "Thank you for staying," she said. "Thank you for asking me to," I answered. I do not remember falling asleep. One moment I was listening to the storm, the next I was blinking at pale light, leaking through the blinds. For a second I did not know where I was. Then I felt the warmth beside me and remembered everything at once. Olivia was still asleep, turned on her side facing me. Her hand rested between us on the sheet, fingers relaxed. In the morning light her face looked softer, younger. Not the woman who commanded the conference room, just a person who got tired and scared and lonely like everyone else. I watched her for a second longer than I should have. Then I carefully rolled onto my back and stared at the ceiling, repeating one sentence in my head. "Do not make this weird." She stirred. Her eyes blinked open. For a heartbeat, there was confusion. Then awareness. Then a sharp rush of panic I saw and felt all at once. "Morning," I said, forcing my voice to stay normal. She sucked in a breath, then let it out. "Right," she said. "The storm, the bed." "Nothing happened," I said quickly. "We slept. That is it." "I know," she said, her shoulders relaxed. I just forgot for a second. The clock on her nightstand said 7:12 a.m. The world outside the blinds looked gray but calmer. The roar of the rain had softened to a steady patter. "I should get going," I said. "Beat traffic, grab a shower, pick up Lily later." She nodded. "Yeah, of course." We both hesitated. Neither of us moved to get out of bed. It felt too direct, too real. "We cannot tell anyone about this," she said finally. "I know," I said. "If people find out I slept in my boss's bed, even like this, they will write their own story." "And it will not be the truth," she said. "No," I said. "It will not." She swallowed. "Then we keep last night between us." "Okay," I said. "Between us." We got up, careful not to bump into each other more than we had to. She made coffee while I pulled on my clothes. We stood in the small kitchen, mugs in hand, not quite looking at each other. The easy flow from last night had been replaced by a tight, careful quiet. "Thank you again," she said, "for the ride, for staying, for not making this more complicated than it already is." "You do not have to thank me," I said. "I wanted to help." "Ethan," she said, meeting my eyes, "it was your kindness that put you in this mess. I will not forget that." Mess. The word sat heavy in my chest. I left a few minutes later, walking down her hallway with my heart in my throat. When the elevator doors opened, a man in a suit stepped out, holding a briefcase and a to-go coffee. He glanced at me, then at Olivia's door down the hall, then back at me. There was a flicker of interest in his eyes. He did not say anything. He did not have to. I drove home with the windows fogging and my thoughts louder than the radio. I showered, changed, picked up Lily from my mom's, pretended everything was normal. By the time Monday came, I had almost convinced myself it really had been that simple. A ride, a storm, a shared bed with a clear line down the middle. Then I walked into the office. Jason from UX was by the coffee machine, talking to Kevin from DevOps. Their voices were low, but I heard my name anyway. "Ask Ethan," Jason said. "He is her hero of the storm." They both looked up when I stepped in. Their smiles were a little too quick, their eyes a little too curious. "What hero?" I asked. "Heard you saved Olivia from the flood," Jason said. "Gave her a ride home on Friday, that true?" My stomach dropped. I forced a shrug. "Streets were bad," I said. "She did not have a car. I was headed that way." "No big deal." Kevin grinned. Big enough that people are talking, he said. About what? I asked. Jason lifted his hands. Relax, man. Just office gossip. Storm stories. You know how it is. I walked back to my desk, pulse racing, fingers cold. If a simple ride home was already feeding the rumor mill, what would they do if they knew about the bed? My phone buzzed. A message from Olivia popped up on my screen. Can you meet me in conference room 3 in 10 minutes? My chest tightened. My thumb hovered over the keyboard. Sure, I typed. I set the phone down and stared at my monitor without seeing it, because I knew. The line we had crossed was not going to stay hidden for long. Conference room 3 had glass walls and a view of the parking lot. Most days it felt like any other meeting room. That morning, it felt like a spotlight. Olivia was already inside when I walked up. She was standing at the far end of the table, arms folded, staring out the window. Her blazer was off, sleeves rolled to her elbows. That was never a good sign. When I stepped in, she closed the door behind me. I felt the quiet settle on my shoulders. You heard it, she said. It was not a question. Jason and Kevin, I said, by the coffee machine. Her jaw tightened. I told myself it would stay small, she said. A ride in a storm, no one's business. I was wrong. It is still just a ride, I said. They do not know anything else. No, she said, but they have enough to start building their own story. She walked to the table and leaned on it with both hands, head lowered for a second. When she looked up, there was something raw in her eyes that I had not seen at work before. Fear. I am sorry, I blurted. Her brow pulled together. For what? For putting you in this position, I said. If I had just minded my own business and not offered the ride, you would not be dealing with this. She shook her head. You did the right thing, she said. Storm, flooded streets, it was a safety issue. I am glad you were there. This is not your fault. It feels like it, I said. It feels like it because you have a conscience, she said quietly. The people who are talking do not feel that way. They just want something to fill the break room. I dropped into one of the chairs. My legs suddenly felt tired. What do we do? I asked. She sat across from me, the table like a line drawn between us. We decide who we are in this, she said, before other people decide for us. What does that even mean? It means we set rules, she said, clear ones. I waited. At work, she said slowly, we are boss and employee. Nothing else. No inside jokes. No long, one-on-one talks that are not necessary. No staying after meetings to chat when everyone else leaves. We keep it clean. Her words stung more than I wanted to admit. That is what you want? I asked. It is what we have to do, she said, for now, until this dies down. And outside of work? She went quiet. Her eyes dropped for a second, then came back to mine. Outside of work, she said, we are two people who went through a weird night in a storm and are trying not to let it wreck their lives. So strangers, I said. Something flashed across her face. Hurt. No, she said softly. Not strangers, just people who have to be careful. I rubbed my face, feeling the roughness of my jaw. Careful is what I have been for years, I said. Careful with money. Careful with my time, careful with my kid. I am tired of careful. She let out a breath that sounded like she had been holding it all morning. Me too, she said. But we do not get to be careless, Ethan. Not where we work, not in the positions we are in. I know, I said. I just hate that doing one decent thing turned into this. So do I, she said. We sat there in the quiet for a few seconds. I watched the skin between her brows crease. I knew that look. It was the one she had when she was trying to debug a problem she did not create. I talked to HR this morning, she said suddenly. My stomach dropped. About us? Yes, she said. About the rumors. About Friday night. I told them exactly what happened with the ride. I did not mention the bed. I said you drove me home, the streets were bad. End of story. What did they say? They said perception matters, she answered, voice flat. They said I should be mindful of boundaries with my direct reports. They said if things get worse, they will need to be more involved. More involved how? I asked. They did not spell it out, she said, but I know how this works. If someone decides there is a conflict of interest, they separate people. Different teams, different projects, maybe a performance review or 3. I stared at the table. They would do that over gossip? They do not call it gossip, she said. They call it workplace climate. A cold knot formed in my chest. I thought about Lily, her school, our rent, the health insurance I needed to pay for her asthma meds. I cannot lose this job, I said quietly. Her eyes softened. I know, she said. This is not just a paycheck, I said. It is Lily's home, her doctor, her everything. She leaned forward, fingers curling on the table. Listen to me, she said. I am not going to let them use you as a shield for their fear. If this turns into something official, they are going to look at me first. I am the one in power. I am the one who has to answer for it. That is not fair, I said. Nothing about this is fair, she said. But I knew the game when I stepped into this role. You have a kid. You should not pay for my choices. It was my choice to stay, I said. My choice to invite you, she replied. We stared at each other across the cheap wooden table that suddenly felt like a courtroom bench. I do not want to pretend last night did not happen, I said quietly. Her throat worked. I do not either, she whispered. But we are going to, I said. She nodded once. For now. There was so much packed into those 2 words that my chest ached. A knock sounded on the glass. Jason peered in and gave a half wave. Stand up in 5, he mouthed. Olivia straightened. Her face shifted, the softness gone, the calm leader mask sliding back into place. Okay, she said. Back to normal. Quote, whatever that is, I muttered. We walked out together but did not walk side by side. There was a half step of space between us, a careful gap that felt bigger than it looked. All day, I felt eyes on me. Real or imagined, I did not know. I kept my head down, wrote clean code, answered questions only when asked. Olivia ran meetings like nothing had happened, kept her tone even, her gaze moving around the room, never resting on me for too long. By mid-afternoon, my shoulders hurt from staying so tense. My inbox was full of tickets. My coffee had gone cold twice. I was almost relieved when it was finally time to go home. I was stuffing my laptop into my bag when my phone buzzed. Mom, Lily wants to stay one more night. Movie marathon. That okay? I smiled despite the knot in my chest. Me? Sure. Tell her I said no more popcorn than her stomach can handle. Mom, no promises. I was sliding my phone away when a new notification popped up. Work email. Subject line, workplace conduct check-in. My mouth went dry. I opened it. From HR General to Ethan Cole. We would like to schedule a brief check-in regarding team climate and recent events around Friday's storm. Please stop by meeting room B at 9:30 tomorrow morning. It was signed with the HR manager's name. Casual, polite, chilling. I stared at the screen for a long second. My ears rang. This was it. The part where rumors became something with a file and notes and boxes to check. I felt someone step up beside my desk. You got it too, Olivia said quietly. I turned. She was holding her phone in her hand. Her face was calm, but her knuckles were white. Yeah, I said. 9:30, meeting room B. Same, she said. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The office buzzed softly around us, normal end-of-day noise, keyboards and chairs and low voices. It felt like another planet. What do we do? I asked. We tell the truth, she said. All of it? Quote. She hesitated for half a heartbeat. The truth that matters, she said. No affair, no secret relationship, a ride in a storm and 2 people who were trying to be safe. And the bed? I asked. My voice was rough. Her eyes met mine. There was fear there and something stubborn. The bed is between us, she said. They do not get that part. I swallowed the lump in my throat. Okay. You can still step back, she said, voice low. Tell them you feel pressured. Did you want to transfer teams? They will protect you. I stared at her. You want me to say that? No, she said quickly. I do not. But I have to give you the out. You have Lily. You cannot risk this the way I can. I thought of my daughter's face. I thought of the storm against Olivia's windows. I thought of waking up in her bed, our hands a few inches apart. "I am not throwing you under a bus to make my life easier," I said. "This is not about making your life easier," she said. "It is about making sure you still have one if this goes bad." "It is both," I said. "And I am not doing it." She searched my face like she was trying to find a crack. "Ethan," she said softly, "why are you doing this?" Quote, "I could have said a lot of things. Because it is right. Because I am tired of letting other people write my story. Because I do not want to live scared anymore." What came out was simple. "Because I care what happens to you," I said. Her breath hitched almost imperceptibly. "Okay," she said. "Then we go in there tomorrow and we stand on the same side." "Together," I said. "Together," she echoed. She turned to leave, then paused. "Get some sleep tonight," she said without looking back. "Tomorrow is going to be a long day." She walked away, her shoulders straight, her head high. I watched her go, feeling like I was standing at the edge of something huge. The storm that had started this was over outside. Streets were drying. The sky over Seattle was clear again. But inside our office, inside our lives, the real storm was just beginning. I did not sleep much that night. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, while the light from the street painted soft lines on the walls. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that subject line, Workplace Conduct Check-in. I thought about Lily, curled up at my mom's, safe and warm. I thought about Olivia, probably sitting at her kitchen table with a laptop open and a mug of cold coffee, trying to plan for a meeting you could not really plan for. At some point I must have drifted off, because my alarm dragged me out of a thin, restless sleep at 6:30. By 9:25, I was standing outside meeting room B with my heart beating hard enough that I could feel it in my teeth. Olivia was already there. She wore a dark blazer, simple blouse, hair neat, face calm in that way she used when she was walking into hard meetings. But when her eyes met mine, there was a flash of something human under it. "You ready?" she asked. "No," I said, "but I am here." She gave a short nod. "Okay," she said, "we do this together." She opened the door, and we stepped in. The HR manager, a woman named Karen with kind eyes and a strict expression, sat at the end of the table with a notebook in front of her. Next to her was a man I had seen around but never spoken to, someone from people operations, whatever that meant. "Good morning," Karen said. "Thank you both for coming." Quote, "We sat side by side on the other side of the table. My palms were damp. I wiped them on my jeans under the table. "I want to start by saying this is a routine conversation," Karen said. "Our goal is to understand the situation and support a healthy work environment. No one is in trouble." That was a nice sentence. I did not believe it. She folded her hands. "As you know, there has been some talk on the floor about Friday night's storm," she said. "Specifically about Olivia being stranded and Ethan giving her a ride home. We have received a few concerns about boundaries and perceptions of favoritism." Olivia's jaw tightened, but her voice stayed even. "What kind of concerns?" she asked. Karen glanced down at her notes. Things like, is it appropriate for a manager to accept a ride from a direct report in that context? Whether that might create discomfort for others, whether it could be seen as special treatment. "In a storm where the streets were flooding," Olivia said. "When I did not have a car and ride, apps were not working." "I understand the context," Karen replied, "and I want to give you space to share that. That is why we are here, to document what happened from your perspective." She looked at me. "Ethan, can you walk me through that night?" I took a breath. "Sure," I said. I told her everything about the part we had agreed to share. The empty office, the flooded streets, seeing Olivia by the elevator, offering the ride. The slow drive through rivers that used to be roads. Pulling up outside her building with the rain coming down so hard it felt like the sky was falling. "I told him to go," Olivia cut in. "I knew he had his daughter in the morning. I did not want to keep him." "But the water was climbing the wheels," I said. "It did not look safe to drive back." She asked me to stay until the storm calmed down. On the sofa. That was the closest I got to the bed without stepping over our line. Karen wrote notes. The man beside her, whose name I still had not caught, watched us with an unreadable expression. "And after that?" he asked. "I left in the morning. I said. We both came in on Monday and got back to work. That is it. Quote. Karen looked at Olivia. And from your perspective? The same, Olivia said. It was a safety decision. Ethan did me a kindness. I accepted it. I did not and do not give him special treatment in the workplace because of it. You can check my tickets, I added. My reviews, my deadlines. She has been hard on me, like she is on everyone else. The corner of Olivia's mouth moved just a little at that, like she wanted to smile, but did not trust herself to. Karen nodded, flipped a page. Thank you, she said. I appreciate your clarity. Now, I want to talk briefly about perception. We cannot always control what people say, but we can control our own boundaries. Given your roles, it would be wise to limit one-on-one interactions that might be misread. Keeping communication transparent, sticking to office channels for work topics, and avoiding situations that could be interpreted as personal. So you want us to pretend we do not know each other outside of status updates, I said before I could stop myself. Karen looked at me. I want you to be mindful, she said. We are not telling you how to live your lives. But when power and reporting lines are involved, the line between personal and professional can become blurry. That can create a difficult climate for teams. I understand that, Olivia said. Her voice was steady, but I could hear the strain under it. I take my role very seriously. I will not let my personal choices harm my team. We do not believe you have acted with ill intent, Karen said. We want to be proactive, not reactive. The man beside her finally spoke. One more thing, he said. If at any point either of you feels uncomfortable, or if there is any shift in the nature of your relationship, you must disclose it. That is company policy. I felt Olivia go very still beside me. There is no relationship, she said. We are not dating. We are not involved. We worked late. There was a storm, that is all. Her words were true in that moment. They still hurt. Karen closed her notebook. Thank you for being honest, she said. For now, we will consider this matter addressed. We will remind staff to avoid gossip and focus on work. I trust you both to handle this with the professionalism you have shown so far. That was it. 15 minutes that felt like someone had held my life over a fire and decided not to drop it. Yet, we walked out together in silence. When we reached the hallway, Olivia stopped. You did well, she said. You too, I said. She nodded, looked like she was going to walk away. Then she turned back. I meant what I said, she added. About not letting my choices hurt you. If this comes up again, if they push harder, I will step down before I let them take it out on you. No, I said. You will not. Ethan, she said. I am serious, I said. I am not letting you burn your career because people cannot stop talking. I am not a mistake you have to cover. Her eyes flashed. You are not a mistake, she said. The words came out sharp, like they surprised even her. We stared at each other. Something in the space between us shifted. She took a breath. Okay, she said. Then we do the only thing we can. We keep our heads down. We do good work. We give them nothing to feed on. Honest and boring, I said. For now, she said. There was a flicker in her eyes I did not know how to read yet. The next few weeks were strange. The whispers did not vanish overnight, but they faded into the background as new drama showed up. A conflict between product and marketing. A missed deadline on another team. The usual stuff that gave people something to complain about. Olivia kept her word. In meetings, she treated me exactly like everyone else. No extra attention, no less. At first, it felt like a wall. Then I realized it was a shield. She was making sure no one could point at even one thing and say, see, she favors him. I kept my head down. I wrote code. I picked up Lily from school. I made dinner and washed dishes and played board games on the living room floor. We had nights where it was just the two of us, and I almost forgot that my job sat on top of us like a fragile roof. But nothing that big stays hidden forever. Not the meeting. Not the ride. Not what that storm had actually done to my heart. One Sunday night, after Lily was asleep, my phone buzzed while I was folding laundry. Unknown number. This is Olivia. I hope it is okay that I got your personal number from the directory. I stared at the screen. My pulse sped up. Me. It is okay. Olivia, I keep thinking about that morning. About the way we promised to pretend nothing happened. My hands went still over a half-folded t-shirt. Me, the HR meeting, or the storm? Olivia, both. I sat down on the edge of the couch. My heart was beating like it had that night on her bed, slow and too loud. Olivia, I do not regret that you helped me. I do not regret that you stayed. What I do regret is how scared I have let other people make me. I swallowed. Me, I am scared too. Olivia, I know. You have more to lose than I do. That is why I am texting and not asking you to answer right away. I just need to say this somewhere that is not inside my own head. Me, say it. There was a long pause. Then her message came. Olivia, I care about you, Ethan, not just as an employee, not just as the guy who saved my stupid life in a flood. I care about how your day is. I care about your daughter when you talk about her. I care when you look tired. I should have told you that before HR forced us into boxes. I stared at the words until they blurred. Nobody had told me they cared about me like that in a long time. My thumbs hovered over the keyboard. All the fears came up at once. HR, gossip, Lily, rent, insurance, jobs, power, rules. Underneath all of it was something else, the memory of her hand lying inches from mine on the sheet. The sound of her voice in the dark when she asked what I wanted. Me, I care about you too, more than I should, maybe more than is smart. But I am tired of pretending that night did not change anything. The typing dots popped up, then stopped, then came back. Olivia, what do we do with that? I leaned my head back against the wall and let out a breath I felt like I had been holding for weeks. Me, we stop letting fear write every rule. We stay honest. We stay careful where we have to, but we stop acting like wanting more is dirty or wrong. Olivia, and if work finds out, me, then we tell them the truth before they twist it. We tell them we are adults, we are not hiding, and we will move teams if we have to. But we do not lie, not to them and not to ourselves. There was another pause, long enough that I thought maybe I had pushed too far. Then, Olivia, you are braver than I am. Me, I do not feel brave. Olivia, that is usually when it counts the most. The next day I asked her to meet me after work at a small coffee shop 2 blocks away from the office. Neutral ground. Public. She walked in wearing jeans and a sweater instead of office clothes. It threw me for a second. She looked younger, softer, like the woman who had stood barefoot in her kitchen making tea while the storm shook the windows. We sat with paper cups between us. My hands were shaking a little when I wrapped them around the warm cardboard. Say it out loud, she said. What you texted. I care about you, I said. My voice was rough but steady. Not just as my boss. Not just as the person who signs my performance reviews. As you. As Olivia. Quote. Something in her face eased, like a knot letting go. I care about you too, she said, as Ethan. As the guy who shows me pictures of his kid and still has time to help juniors debug their code. We sat there, 2 grown adults acting like teenagers, trying to define something they had no guide for. I do not know how this works, I said. A single dad and his boss and HR forms and all of it. Me neither, she said, but I know 2 things. 1. I am tired of letting other people's fear drive my choices. 2. If this costs me something, I would rather it be on my terms than because I hid and let rumors define us. So we tell them, I said. Not today, she said. Not until we know what we are asking for. But if this becomes more than late-night texts and coffee, we do it right. We are honest. We do not sneak. I nodded. Deal, I said. We sat there in the quiet hum of the shop, cups between us, hearts on the table for the first time. We did not kiss that day. We did not run off into some fantasy. We walked back to the office side by side, then split at the entrance and went to our separate floors like always. But something was different. The fear was still there, but it was no longer the only voice in the room. Months later, after projects and deadlines, and one very careful conversation with HR, where we asked to be on different reporting lines to avoid future conflicts, it happened. We were no longer boss and direct report. We were in the same company, same building, different teams. We filled out the forms. We sat through the meeting, where Karen reminded us of policies and nodded at all the right times. And when that was done, when there were no more secrets to defend, we stood outside the building in the cool Seattle air, and she took my hand. "Stay the night," she said. It was not a storm this time. The sky was clear. The streets were dry. "You sure?" I asked. "Yes," she said. "Not because you are my employee, not because you saved me from a flood. Because I want you there. Because I want all of this, not half of it." Quote. So I went home, kissed Lily, set her up at my mom's for a sleepover. I packed a bag. I drove to Olivia's without rain beating on the windshield, without lightning in the sky. Her sofa was still broken. We laughed about it. "We should really fix that one day," she said. "We have other things to fix first," I said. That night, when we lay in her bed again, there was no line drawn down the middle in fear. There was only a promise to be careful where it mattered and brave where it counted. To tell the truth even when it was hard. To stand together when people talked and judged and wondered. Later, another storm rolled through Seattle. Lily stood at the window in my apartment, watching the rain slam into the glass. "Does the sky get scared when it does that?" she asked. "Maybe," I said. "But it lets it out anyway." Olivia was in the kitchen, stirring a pot of pasta, humming under her breath. Our life did not look perfect. It looked real. Messy cabinets, school papers on the fridge, 2 laptops on the table, a broken sofa still waiting for a repair we kept putting off. I walked over and wrapped my arms around her from behind. She leaned back into me like she had always been meant to fit there. "We made it through," she said quietly. "Through what?" "The part where we were afraid of everything," she said. "Not of everything," I said. "Just of being honest." She turned in my arms and kissed me, soft and sure. In the background, the storm kept going. But for once, I was not listening to see how bad it would get. We had already survived the worst one. The night I refused the sofa, crossed a line, and found someone who was willing to stand in the middle of the mess with me. People talk, they always will. But at the end of the day, they go home to their own lives. And I go home to mine, to my daughter, to the woman who asked me to stay the night and then chose to stay in my life. Honesty did not make the world kinder. It did not stop storms or silence gossip. But it did something better. It gave us solid ground to stand on when everything else tried to pull us apart. And that was enough.